Mrs. Hanoi, please stay and work overtime tonight, no problem, team leader. As long as it's you, I can work overtime at any time, favorite rating +50. Traveling through parallel worlds in Tokyo, as the leader of NTsoft gaming company, Tokugawa Tsuchi was lost in thought as she watched the green font popping up from her subordinate's wife's head. Daily writing, Tokyo under a fictional worldview, mainly engaged in gaming, and may later make movies and write songs. Chapter 1. As the team leader, You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Captain Dong Chuan, this is about the survey form of male XP orientation from 2000 to 2005. Well, put it here. The sound of closing the door echoed through the cochlea, and Dong Chuan Che picked up the file, 2000.05 male XP orientation survey form, from her desk. Young boys nowadays are also curious about how their XP was developed. After looking at the words for a while, he found that there were many words like survivor, cowardly wife, and sister.in.law in front of the washing machine, in between the lines. He rubbed his temples silently, turned the boss's chair and stared at the high-rise building outside the floor window and the ant-like crowd below. It's been a week since I traveled here. Dong Chuan Che picked up his coffee cup and took a sip. It has been a week since I arrived in this parallel world of Tokyo. His current name is Dong Chuan Che. A native of Tokyo, graduated from the University of Tokyo. He has a handsome appearance, a household registration in the capital, and a wealthy family. He graduated from a top university in China and directly joined this NTsoft gaming company located in Akihabara, Chiyoda-ku, Tokyo. This Dong Chuan Che can be said to be a safe winner in life, but unfortunately, due to a car accident and the death of his parents, Dong Chuan Che used wine to relieve his worries and slipped into the Edo River. After being rescued, his soul had already been occupied by him. He has been in this world for a week now and has gained a certain understanding of it. This is a parallel world, with a history, culture, and geography similar to Earth, but the entertainment industry is developing quite strangely. It's not without the entertainment industry, and the development of the entertainment industry is also very good, but those classic works from the past are gone. Has this world been bitten by a dog? Forget it, it doesn't matter, as long as it allows me to make money. With strange thoughts in his mind, Dong Chuan Che looked at the distant sky for a while, feeling his eyes slightly swollen and then relaxed. He then turned his boss's chair and started flipping through the 2000.05 male XP orientation survey form again. Normally, as a serious 25-year-old man, he doesn't have much interest in XP for students, especially male students. But there's no way, as the leader of Lightbird Studio, a game company under NTsoft, he's considering the next game. NTsoft Game Company is a large gaming company with many different groups based on the division of themes, and he leads Lightbird Studio, mainly responsible for interactive video games. The so-called interactive video game is not much different from movies. The difference is that there are many branches to choose from in the game, and players can manipulate the protagonist to choose the plot branch according to their own wishes. Whether we can stabilize the position of the team leader depends on this one. Dong Chuan Che finished his coffee in one gulp and focused his attention on the center of his eyebrows. Soon, an ice blue virtual screen appeared in front of him. Consumer Point Mall, current open area. Games, interactive video game partition, Game 1. Detroit. Metamorphosis dataset, 120 million consumer points, Game 2. Invisible Guardian dataset, 110 million consumption points, Game 3. Game 17. Damn it. I'm surrounded by beautiful women, dataset, 500,000 consumption points, beginner activity, consumption points reduced by 80%. Consumption point balance. 245.014 yen/500.000 yen, unlocking upper limit for gaining more likes. There is still a consumption point of 200,000 yen left, and the salary will be paid this afternoon. Dong Chuan Che blinked. Consumption point, as the name suggests, for every 1 yen spent in reality, this consumption point will rise slightly, and then it can be exchanged for various products in the system mall. At present, he is targeting the live-action interactive movie game, Damn It. I'm surrounded by beautiful women, which still needs to be redeemed for 200,000 yen in real life. Remember, before time travel, this game became popular in China. There are many people who like it, and there are also many who curse it. Many XXNs and some awakened men claim that it is an industrial drug, but this game is actually no different from Korean dramas. The underlying logic is to meet the emotional needs of those who are no longer waiting for real love in the increasingly harsh environment. Dong Chuan-che fell backwards onto the boss's chair. He discovered something very interesting. Back in the day, women who watched Korean dramas kept talking about themselves, dressing up and learning Korean dramas. They even compared their boyfriend and husband to the characters in Korean dramas. But at that time, no one said that Korean dramas were industrial drugs. A movie called You from the Stars became popular all over the country, and those who had objects but not were all called oba. They still thought it was very fashionable and interesting. But why is there so much criticism in society when a game that meets male emotional needs comes out now? Even some men are cursing themselves, with a moral guardian-like appearance, as if they never watch color videos to comfort themselves. Dong Chuan-che cannot understand, but it is not important either. He just wants to make money. In his opinion, there are two basic logic behind the success of Damn It. I'm surrounded by beautiful women. The first is the live interactive movie game. Strictly speaking, it is no different from Gal game, but the impact of the third dimension is stronger than that of the anime. It's like most people find it difficult to return to the anime section after getting used to watching the Japanese and Korean regions. The sense of substitution and reality brought by the realistic beauty of the third dimension is still much stronger than that of the anime. Secondly, it satisfies a large number of male players' fantasies about love, which often arise under excessive pressure in reality, where sincere liking is equivalent to licking a dog, green tea watches dominate the world, and getting married without a car or house. In this regard, the situation of the three brothers in Dongya is similar. There used to be a phenomenon of three wallets in Japan, and now most young men are lying flat. This is different from the domestic trend of shouting, "Lie down," but actually being very popular. However, no matter how much you lie down or say you don't want to fall in love, humanity's longing for beautiful love will not change. If you give them a beautiful and kind-hearted family environment that doesn't hold them back, and the key is to chase after them, they are likely to immediately fall out of favor. And I can give 6 at once. I'm confident in this wave of performance. Lying back in the boss's chair, thinking silently, just then, the phone on the table shook. Your account 9527 received a payment of 682.427.14 yen on September 7 at 16.21, with remarks, salary, Sumitomo Bank, the salary has been received. Glancing at the phone screen, a smile appeared on the corner of Dong Chuan-che's mouth. Nearly 700,000 yen, say more or less, say less or less. Daily consumer goods such as vegetables, fruits, and meat in Tokyo are very expensive. A pound of high-quality pork ribs can be sold for 1,500 yen, about 70 yuan. It can be said that prices are very high and one of the root causes of pain for ordinary people in Tokyo, but compared to salaries, daily consumer goods are very expensive, while large items such as phones, cars, and houses are not very expensive. Converted to Chinese yuan, the new Apple phone costs around 10,000 yuan here, the BMW X5 costs around 600,000 yuan, and the average house price in Tokyo fluctuates around 60,000 yuan. According to statistics, working-class families in Tokyo need to struggle for 10 years to buy a house, and social pressure is very high. Under immense social pressure, as soon as salaries are paid, waves of joyful conversations can be heard outside the house. The salary has been paid, and everyone is very happy. Dong Chuan-che stretched lazily, opened Line's software on the computer, found a rabbit avatar, and sent a message. Little Leaf, come in for a moment. So. Coming soon, team leader. Through the window, you can see a beautiful woman with a low ponytail standing up near the door. She wanted to leave her workstation for the first time, but just turned around and stopped. She nervously tidied up her skirt and collar, took out her beauty mirror, and then turned to the door. Captain, do you have anything to do with me? The beautiful woman Hanoi Koya twisted her water snake waist and pushed open the door to reach the left side of Dongchuan Che. She leaned forward slightly and could just see the black lace on the hem of her skirt. New book release, Seeking Votes and Collecting. Chapter 2. Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Money and power are indeed the source of all evil. The other party's big snow mountain was a bit close, and Dongchuan Che, who crossed her legs, remained unmoved. She glanced at the beautiful woman in front of her, who exuded the scent of a mature woman and had a beautiful mole on her mouth. Hanoi Zaiwaizi is their group's character painter. She is 30 years old, standing at around 1.65 meters tall, with a plump figure and a gentle low ponytail, but beneath the low ponytail lies a charming, mature, beautiful woman's face. The watery lips were painted with a faint lip gloss, and under the fair neck was a well-defined collarbone, followed by a straight white shirt. The tension is full, and the snowy mountains are about 30.6 emperors thick. The heavy and fruitful fruits tremble and tremble. The two wrapped hip skirts and black silk wrapped flesh legs are full of visual tension, and leaning against each other gives a slight sense of unease and friction. Normally, although this kind of veteran employee may not hold a high position, even in Tokyo, where class status is very strict, they wouldn't be so flattering at the thought of this. Dongchuan Che focused his gaze on the center of Kawaguchi's eyebrows. Soon, an ice blue panel popped up in front of his eyes. Name: Hanoi Zaiwaizi, age 30, Holy Crab. 91, 63, 92, skills. Intermediate character drawing LV9, currently not printable, intermediate scene drawing LV5, currently not printable, advanced cooking L1, currently not printable, relationship. Neutral, hate, disgust, disdain, neutrality, longing/kindness/fear, admiration/respect/fear, intoxication/worship/fear, soulmate/reverence/light of life, recent situation. A destitute and undead person, currently facing a wave of unemployment as an AI drawing artist, she is very panicked and eager to find a reliable shoulder to rely on. I'm very short of money. If I'm short of money, it's easy to handle. The upper limit of consumption points is now 5,000,000. To increase the limit and exchange for more advanced games, you need to unlock the likes of others. Dongchuan Che's gaze swept over Hanoi's plump body, and his thoughts drifted slightly. After waiting for a few seconds, no one saw Dongchuan Che speak. With her hands on her hips, Kawachi Yuko, who had never dared to look directly, carefully glanced at Dongchuan Che. I noticed that his gaze was fixed on me without stopping. Does the team leader have any thoughts about me? Looking at Dongchuan's handsome facial features and his aloof demeanor under the leadership of the team leader, Hanoi Yukiko felt her breathing become rapid, but her eyes were full of entanglement. After 2 seconds of suffocation, she put her hands on her back waist, leaned her delicate body slightly forward, lowered her head, and shyly said, "Che-jun, is there anything dirty there with me? Stand up and address." This is a very obvious suggestion, but Tokugawa Kiyoshi, who has been thinking about the system, did not react. "Sorry, I just lost my mind. I called you over to ask if you are available after work, and I wanted to talk to you about something. Date me." As lightning flashed through her brain, Hanoi Yuko felt the goosebumps on her neck stand up and hesitated for a moment. "Of course, I have time," she said. "That's good." Dongchuan Che turned her watch and glanced at the time. She got up and took off her suit jacket from the hanger, showing a gentle smile. Go prepare, I'll wait for you downstairs. Team leader, walk slowly. Bowing, he stood up until he watched Dongchuan Che leave the office, Hanoi Zaiwaizi. The whole person leaned against the wall and took a long breath, bowed his head, and the shadow pulled through the sunset of the French window. At the main entrance of the NTsoft gaming company building, a black Volkswagen parked on the roadside. Intermediate painter, she almost meets the requirements. In the driver's seat, Dongchuan Che took a puff of smoke and hung it outside the window in his left hand. He flipped through a document on the steering wheel with his right hand, which read, Fate/Day Night, on the cover. The Night of Fate. Yes, damn it. I'm surrounded by beautiful women, is his next set of information to redeem, and the fate he has in hand is a beginner gift package given by the system, which he plans to create himself. In front of my subordinates, I am a boss with a decent salary, but for the company, I have always been a laborer. The games I produce can only receive relatively small bonuses, and the copyright is not in my hands. This won't work. Dongchuan Che took another puff of smoke and squinted at the dataset. His current life is indeed quite good, but he is not satisfied with being a working emperor. Sooner or later, he will come out and do it himself. Surrounded by beautiful women, this game is indeed great and a hit, but it doesn't have much IP potential. Even in this parallel world, he feels that being surrounded by beautiful women may not necessarily create the same breaking effect as in his previous life. But fate is different. This game is a very large IP, with 170,000 copies sold. This number is not an exaggeration in the entire gaming industry, and it may even be a bit small. After all, Gal Game is a small circle, but it also earned the company 60 to 70 million after tax. Moreover, the main focus of this game is not actually the game itself, but a series of peripherals such as anime and mobile games that extend from the game. Back then, the Black Joan of Arc card pool, which was just released after mobile gaming, earned over 200 million yuan. If you deposit over 200 million yuan in the bank and earn interest, you can enjoy it forever. This kind of top-level big IP, Dongchuan Che doesn't want to hand over the copyright to NTsoft Gaming Company, and besides the great potential of the IP, another thing is that Fate is a gal game. It's just a game with a picture and a lot of text. The production difficulty of this game is not high, mainly due to the excellent storyline, character design, and vertical drawing, which is why he sought out Koya Hanoi. With her joining as an artist, coupled with the storyline in this dataset and his programming skills, the two of them can form the core members of the production team, but with fewer people, it will definitely take more time. Intermediate painter, even if the system gives a level of intermediate LV9, it is still a bit weak, but it is easier to control. A senior artist must have stronger abilities, but firstly, others are likely not interested in such small projects. Secondly, others do not have survival pressure. If they find out that they want to secretly play games without signing a contract, it will be troublesome. NTsoft does not allow employees to engage in external private work. Looking at the car speeding by outside the window, Dongchuan Che silently pondered, while at that moment, a knocking sound came from the window on the other side. Pressing down the car window, Hanoi Yuko, wearing a light yellow suspender dress, stood shyly outside the window. The wind today was a bit noisy, and she held down her hair that had been blown up by the wind with her hand. I added some light makeup to my face, but chose a brighter color scheme for my lipstick. The whole person exudes an intellectual, gentle, sexy, and mature aura. In addition, my skin is already very white, and there are no discoloration marks on my neck. There are some on my collarbone, but it is not too obvious. Under my collarbone, I hold up my suspender dress to a tight and plump figure. Che Jun, I've kept you waiting for a long time. Feeling a somewhat presumptuous gaze, Koya Hanoi's face turned slightly red. Dongchuan Che smiled and said, "Come on up, let's go eat something first." Good. Chapter 3. The Deterioration of Friendship. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Black Volkswagen is driving on the streets of Akihabara. There was soothing music in the carriage, and the air was filled with a light smell of perfume. Looking at the scenery and crowds constantly passing by outside the window, Hanoi Zaiwaizi's slender fingers unconsciously pulled on her seatbelt, and her timid gaze secretly glanced at Dongchuan Che driving next to her. Does he want me to take the initiative? Hanoi Zaiwaizi's big eyes, like autumn water, showed some grievances. To be honest, she was prepared to be harassed by this little boy who was several years younger than herself, but since getting on the car, Tokugawa Che hasn't talked much to her, and people are beautiful and have average abilities, but after years of struggling in the workplace, I am still a junior employee. The main issue is that I don't understand how to handle relationships with male superiors, and I have changed to several companies due to workplace sexual harassment. To be frank, she is not the type who is very proactive in chatting. What is he thinking? What is she thinking? Holding the steering wheel in his hand, he glanced through the rearview mirror at Coco Hanoi's conflicted expression, with a hint of curiosity in his eyes. In his line of sight, red and green numbers of +1.1 +1.1 kept popping up above the head of Coco Hanoi. Green numbers indicate an increase in emotional values, while red numbers indicate a decrease in emotional values. He was not surprised by the functionality provided by the system. He was curious about how the woman's emotional state kept fluctuating up and down, even though he didn't say or do anything. Is it because I didn't speak, so I'm very nervous? The increase is decreasing, but overall it is still increasing. It seems that it is still better not to speak up at the moment. Dongchuan Che thinks this system is very useful. To be honest, he was not a loser in his past life, but he was indeed not very good at manipulating women's thoughts. A woman's mind is not just about saying too little or too much to solve problems. When to say it, when to shut up, when to be cold, when to be flowery, all of this requires a lot of thought. Now it's good, the system is teaching the girls hand in hand. The emotional value has been fluctuating and increasing, and Dongchuan Che has not taken the initiative to speak all the way. It is interesting that he found that the more he remained silent and put on a bad face, the more his emotional value decreased and also increased. Strange attributes. The faster his emotional state rises, the more he pretends to be, I'm not easy to deal with, and the more he puts on airs, the more anxious Hanoi Koyoko becomes. His temperament is completely different from that of a 25-year-old boy. Are you taking me directly to the hotel without saying anything? What kind of woman does he treat me like? Feeling a bit flustered, Koya Hanoi struggled to figure out how to get off the car, but soon, as Black Volkswagen parked at the entrance of a head.End steak restaurant, her mind relaxed a lot, and her eyes looking at Tokugawa Che's profile became even more complex. +50. Ah. Looking back, I saw a green font with a skyrocketing emotional value rising from the top of Hanoi's head, and Dongchuan Che was taken aback for a moment. A head.End restaurant with a skyrocketing emotional value, is she a gold digger? It's a perfect match with me. No matter how much money is spent, it can all be returned as a point of consumption. What Dongchuan Che is most afraid of now is a woman who worships money. How about eating this one? I'll listen to you. Yanzo Sasaki is a charcoal grill restaurant, although head.End, its architectural style is not European style. Pushing open the curtains, you can feel a strong spicy aroma when entering. Under the guidance of the waiter, the two of them arrived at a small tatami room. What would you like to eat? Dongchuan Che flipped through the recipe and glanced up at Hanoi Koyoko, who was kneeling across from her. Under the light, Hanoi Xiaoya's soft black hair emitted a faint luster, her big eyes flickered, and her removed suit jacket made the snowy mountains under her white shirt even more thick. A jade tear hung in the valley. However, this is not the key. Based on the instinct of searching for biological roots, Dongchuan Che's gaze instinctively swept down to the small feet wrapped in delicate stockings and placed under 92 plump peaches. I can do anything, but I can't eat any spicy food lately, Hanoi Zaiwaizi said as if feeling the gaze. I can't eat spicy food recently. Preparation. Hanoi Koyoko was laying the groundwork, but Dong Chuan-che did not understand this layer, or rather his attention was not focused on it. No problem. Miss, I need this, and then. Consumption can be exchanged for consumption points, and consumption points can be exchanged for secrets. Dong Chuan-che doesn't care about spending money at all until Hanoi Zaiwaizi quietly reminds her that she can't eat much, and then she stops. The waitress closed the door and the room became quiet, except for laughter from the next door. Dong Chuan-che picked up his barley tea and took a sip. He originally wanted to get straight to the topic, but as he looked at Zaiwaizi's increasingly unnatural posture due to being alone, he rested his hands on his knees and smiled. I heard you've been working overtime during your lunch break lately. Is it because the workload is too heavy? No, mainly to do things better. Hanoi Zaiwaizi's expression was slightly embarrassed. It can't be said that taking a lunch break and working overtime is to get off work normally and then go to work for a second job. Her thoughts, Dong Chuan-che didn't know, but the +1 green letter on her head was very obvious. Sure enough, the more assertive I am, the higher her mood will actually be. However, this strength needs to be measured. Dong Chuan-che blinked. He can also be considered a well-read person, knowing that there is a group of people who prefer to be treated forcefully by others. The underlying logic here is that this group of people has high life pressure and no sense of security, and they long to find a reliable arm to rely on. The stronger their arms are, the safer they are, and the more they feel small and secure. The key here is how to make others feel your strength and sense of security. Need to be pulled. With this in mind, Dong Chuan-che spoke up and said, NTsoft is really lucky to have employees like Zaiwaizi. However, I heard that you have been very short of money lately. Is this the case? Che-jun, this topic is my privacy. I didn't expect Dong Chuan-che to be so direct, and Hanoi Yuko's eyes were both shy and angry. At the same time, a red font of .100 floated above her head. The emotional value directly decreased by 100, but Dong Chuan-che didn't agree and nodded. I know this is your privacy. Don't worry, I don't have any plans to tell anyone else. But I do know about this, and the company has been laying off employees recently. So, how about we make a deal? Transaction. 500, although she had been mentally prepared before, with such straightforward and humiliating words, when the situation came to an end, Hanoi Koya found herself unable to accept it. She blushed and was about to get up to say goodbye, but at that moment, Dong Chuan-che took out a document from his briefcase and pushed it backwards in front of her. Employment contract. Just as she left her calves with her buttocks raised, Hanoi Koyoko was taken aback when she saw the words on the contract. She stared blankly at Dong Chuan-che and said, this is. I know you are very short of money, and I also know that you have strong drawing skills. Coincidentally, I have plans to make my own games at the moment, but I lack manpower, so how about becoming my painter? Isn't it a bad thing to do? Are you hiring me as an artist? +800. Hanoi Koya's emotional value breakthrough. Neutral friendly, search for current friend level rubbing skills. Intermediate scene drawing, intermediate character drawing, rubbings only provide theoretical knowledge and feelings, practical skills require practical practice to fully learn, breakthrough of consumption limit. 500,000 yen to 2 million yen, achievements. You have friends now, achievement reward. X1 free rubbings, X1 skill upgrade scroll. Chapter 4. The Wife Stupid by the Knife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Please make me an artist. Looking at the contract, on the tatami mat, Hanoi Zaiwaizi relaxed her body, and the heavy peaches fell back onto her calves. After being stunned for a while, the corner of her mouth with a small beauty mole finally revealed a relieved and helpless smile. Originally, they were looking for me to collaborate. Originally, they were just looking for me to collaborate. With her gaze secretly peeking at Dongchuan's handsome features and tall figure, Kawaguchi Yukiko's gaze revealed a hint of relief and strange grievance. She took a deep breath and picked up the contract, saying, "Can I take a look first and then give you an answer?" "Please do as you please." Dongchuan Che picked up his teacup and took a sip, looking at the system panel. Unlocking the upper limit of consumption points is expected. After all, the things in the system mall are basically higher than his current limit, but this skill rubbing is unexpected. According to the explanation, this rubbing should be able to learn skills that others have. Coincidentally, although Fate is just a game, I don't expect the first installment to achieve the same level of accuracy as in previous lives. It mainly relies on the plot to sustain and win the first bucket of gold. But relying solely on Hanoi alone, the production speed will definitely be slow, and I can also work together when the time comes. While drinking tea, Dongchuan Che thought to himself, and at this moment, he also noticed that the green numbers no longer appeared on the top of Hanoi's head. Is it because I need her that she feels like the balance of status is starting to level out? Dongchuan Che's gaze was thought-provoking, and soon Hanoi Koya lifted her head from the contract. She blinked her sour eyes and said, "I have read the contract, and I have no objections to the salary or compensation for the confidentiality agreement. However, I don't know if it's possible to let me see the script of this game after signing the contract. I think a better understanding of the plot is necessary to draw better characters." "No problem, I also brought the script. You can read it after you sign the contract." Good. Watching Dongchuan Che dig out a folder from his briefcase and see that there was no signature on the folder, a hint of disappointment was inexplicably revealed in Hanoi's eyes. He's another guy who dreams of soaring into the sky. The saying goes, every other line is like a mountain. She recognizes Tokugawa Tsuyoshi's programming skills, but she doesn't think Tokugawa Tsuyoshi can write any good scripts. For Gal Game, scripts are the most crucial part. The script was written by Tokugawa Haruna herself, and this fact has led her to sentence the game, Fate/Day-Night, to death in her heart. At the same time, Tokugawa Haruna's image as a high-ranking elite in her heart has also begun to tilt towards boys of all ages who have not yet been tempered by society. Hanoi Zaiwaizi lowered her head to sign the contract, while at the same time a string of red letters floated above her head. 300.10.10.10 Reminder, there is a negative threshold of 1000 for the level of friendliness. If the threshold is exceeded, the level of friendliness will decrease. Has the emotional value plummeted? And is it continuously declining? Just as I pulled out the outline of the script and the script for the Sakura thread, Tokugawa Kiyoshi saw the floating red numbers. "I signed the contract, so I feel things are stable now." Unable to understand, Dongchuan Che furrowed his brows slightly, and at this moment, Hanoi Koyoko also handed over the signed contract. "Signed, take a look." After carefully reviewing the contract and confirming that there were no issues, Tokugawa Che nodded and handed over the script folder in his hand, saying, "There are 3 main storylines in this game, and the most crucial characters are Saber, Sakura Matsutake, and Rin Kisaka. You must capture their emotional and temperament changes throughout the entire script, which is of utmost importance." Emotional changes. Flipping through the script directory and seeing the words fate, choice, and good and evil filled it, Koya Hanoi's disappointment grew even stronger. Whether it's fate, choices, good or evil, they are all widely used themes. It's not that I feel it's too popular, but rather that these themes are difficult to write well. To put it simply, Gal Game, which leans more towards everyday romance, may have a slightly lower ceiling, but it is easier to maintain a lower limit. As long as the female characters are well drawn, the plot is normal for romantic relationships, and the plot can almost maintain a lower limit. Although the ceiling is high, the lower limit is extremely low for grand propositions such as fate and good or evil. This type of work rarely appears in the middle, either as a masterpiece or as a street performer, requiring extremely high levels of screenwriting skills. However, In the company, Tokugawa Tsuchi mainly focuses on programming. Glancing at the young and handsome Dongchuan Tsuchi, who was helping the waiter serve, Hanoi Koyoko let out a deep sigh and took out a notebook with HF line written in it from the folder, flipping through it. Jian Tanjing, the name is quite nice. She has a gentle and kind personality, and is a bit insecure. She is good at household chores and massage, and starts by taking care of the male lead. Hey, it's this kind of plot again. It is estimated that the two of them developed feelings for each other for a long time, and then due to breaking through the growth process of the male lead and the female lead, the three eventually formed a group, becoming a character that only appears in the kitchen, bathroom, foyer, bed, or even in the park. Upon seeing the beginning, Hanoi Koyoko shook her head secretly, but as she continued to flip through the pages, the background of the Katsura family was revealed, and the background of Katsura Sakura's background was revealed. Her eyebrows gradually furrowed, and her plump body unconsciously leaned forward slightly. Concentrated, even Dongchuan Tsuchi made a sizzling sound as she placed the beef on the iron pot, and the oil particles smashed onto her sleeve. She didn't look up, just flipped faster and faster, constantly taking out notebooks and character designs from the other two lines to compare and read. The eyebrows are getting tighter and tighter, and the pupils are becoming more and more concentrated. The whole room was filled with the sound of grilled meat and flipping through paper. Time passed by bit. When Dongchuan Tsuchi served beef on the grill for the third time, and when she read the summary of Sakura was thrown into the insect warehouse by Sakura dirty inkstone since childhood and raped by Sakura Shinji, her right hand on the table tightened slightly. Continuing to flip through, sniffling, as she read that Sakura was being eroded by the dark grail and was about to destroy the world, Yoshimasa stood in front of her bed, facing the sleeping Sakura. She raised her knife, struggled, and then put it down again. As Yoshimasa put down his knife and left, Sakura slowly opened her eyes, leaving her completely stunned. Flip it over. Flip down. When she finally saw the death of Ichiro Omiya, Sakura kept her promise to die alone under the cherry blossom tree. She was completely stunned, looking up with slightly red eyes that looked incredulously at Tokugawa Kiyoshi. Che Jun. Are you a psychopath writing this kind of script? Cough cough. Almost choked to death by a bite of beef, Dongchuan Tsuchi fiercely patted his chest, but before bending down, he saw a large number of green letters floating from the top of Hanoi's head. +50 ++, 100 +100 +500 +500 +1000 +1000. Emotional value increases, friendship deteriorates, Hanoi Zaiwaizi, friendly longing, Hanoi Zaiwaizi recent module update, please check, rubbing skills from Hanoi Koyoko reduces the required points consumption by 50%, friendship spoils. Chapter 5. Earth Seat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The three major aesthetic concepts in Japan, namely the concept of material sorrow, the concept of seclusion, and the concept of silence, are also known as the concept of material sorrow aesthetics. The so-called material sorrow refers to aestheticism based on sadness. Japanese people, who have been influenced by the aesthetics of material sorrow for nearly 400 years, feel more about the melancholic dusk than the hopeful sunrise. When people from other countries see flowers blooming, they are more likely to think of beauty and brightness, while Japanese people are more likely to think of eventually withering. This is sadness, and it is also a satisfying point in the soul of Japanese people. The Japanese consider sorrow as beauty, believing that death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it that endures forever. However, this ideology has reached its limit, coupled with the attachment of militarism, and after turning the tide, it has become the so-called 100 million pieces of jade. Death is not scary, meaningful death is actually a beauty, a spiritual beauty, they believe. However, the world is always material, and the so-called 1 billion pieces of jade are not worth mentioning in front of the little boy and fat man. However, Just as the natural environment and natural organisms are two independent individuals, natural organisms are still inevitably influenced by the environment and eventually evolve into what the environment wants them to become. The influence brought by history and culture is not easy to shake off. After 400 years of development, the spiritual world of Japan has become their shape, and it has been passed down and strengthened from generation to generation by fathers and sons. Even with the impact of a large number of passionate cultural products in the 1990s and around 2000 years, the aesthetic of material sorrow is still deeply rooted in the spiritual world of most Japanese people. For sadness. For the super invincible 9877.3-meter chainsaw blade in the Fate plot, which was forged by Naosu mushrooms, Kawachi Koyako, a sorrowful woman who had been swaying through ups and downs for half her life, had no resistance at all. Are you mentally twisted to write such a script? After cursing this sentence, Hanoi Sayako had already burst into tears, but interestingly, green numbers kept popping up crazily above her head. Sure enough, the strong and secure arm in her heart is not only in terms of economic strength. I never expected the other party's reaction to be so strong. I glanced at the system panel again and saw that, friendship has deteriorated, friendliness longing. Dong Chuan-che patted her choked chest and took another sip of barley tea. Don't you like it? I like it, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I was so impolite just now. Please forgive me, Che-jun. Hanoi Sayako wiped her tears with a tissue, but halfway through the process, she quickly realized how impolite she had just done before breaking free from the script's emotions. Bowing and apologizing repeatedly. Kneeling on the tatami mat, Hanoi Koyoko apologized repeatedly, but Tokugawa Tsuyoshi remained silent and continued to look at her. Do you not accept it? Sure enough, I made him angry. Worried and afraid, looking at Dongchuan's handsome face and deep eyes, Hanoi Zaiwaizi's big eyes trembled like autumn water, with some panic, like a deer, and a hint of moisture. It seems like this is just an apology, it's not possible. Plus 200. The green numbers floated out of his head, and under the gaze of Dongchuan-che, Hanoi Yukiko moved back slightly, knelt down with her knees together, and nervously glanced at him before dodging and respectfully lying down. I'm very sorry. Che-jun, please forgive your subordinate Xiao Yezi. Under the earth seat. Front low and back high. Looking at the exaggerated arches and curled feet, Dong Chuan-che continued to roast beef until he felt the other person's body start to tremble slightly. The green and red numbers floating out of his head were getting bigger and faster, almost out of control. He then smiled and said, "Get up, I can understand your emotions. Excellent works can indeed make people trapped in it and unable to extricate themselves. That's the meaning of playing games, isn't it?" Dong Chuan-che is not lying about this. He really likes cultural products such as games, movies, and TV shows that can hit the heart. Thank you very much. Zaiwaizi will definitely improve herself in the future. Plus 500 plus 300 plus 200 plus 30 plus 30. Hanoi Yuko raised her head, as after a long period of head contact, there were already some tatami imprints on her fair forehead. At the same time, due to her upper body tilting downwards, her sexy cheeks were flushed. The seductive and alluring beautiful woman lifted the black silk hanging from her forehead behind her ear, revealing the sexy little beauty mole at the corner of her mouth. After bowing respectfully to Tokugawa-che again, she slightly moved her buttocks and returned to the table. She was about to say something, but Dong Chuan-che first put a piece of grilled beef into her plate and said, "You've been reading the script all this time. Let's eat something before we talk. There's still a lot of time." Thank you, Che-jun. Hanoi Koyoko bows again. Plus 100. Just a piece of meat, the emotional value skyrocketed by 100. Is it because friendliness has deteriorated into longing? When a girl faces a boy she doesn't like, even if the boy gives everything, she will probably end up with a sentence. "You are a good person, but I don't want to be in love now." When facing a boy she likes, a single glance from the other person can make the girl think back all day. Emotion is a very unreasonable thing. Thinking incessantly in her mind, Dong Chuan-che propped up her chin and quietly watched Hanoi Yuko nibbling on grilled meat. It can be seen that Koyoko Hanoi is indeed hungry, although he seems to be trying his best to maintain some non-existent image in front of him, just taking small bites, but the speed of picking chopsticks is truly amazing. In a hurry, some oil dripped onto the big snowy mountain with a long skirt. In a moment of panic, Dong Chuan-che handed the paper to him. Under his slightly raised eyebrows, Zayawaizi didn't completely turn around, just turned slightly and wiped away the oil stains with a red face. +50 +50 +50 +50 happy times always pass by quickly. After a while, as Hanoi Zayawaizi ate her long skirt, her lower abdomen slightly bulged. As the waitress brought the fruit plate, Dong Chuan-che picked up a watermelon and said, "Are you full?" "I'm full, thank you for your hospitality, Che-jun. My lower abdomen has been swollen to a bit hot." Hanoi Zayawaizi felt a bit embarrassed and wiped her mouth with a tissue, with a satisfied smile on her face. Dong Chuan-che smiled and said, "I just read the script, how do you feel?" "A great script. I haven't seen such a great script for a long time. Although I can feel that you haven't fully unfolded the text yet, the plot is already super powerful." Hanoi Zayawaizi regained her composure and looked at Dong Chuan-che with a hint of admiration in her eyes. +200. When it comes to the plot of Fate, Koya Hanoi's emotional value is soaring again. Pisces women, who are also studying art, are indeed somewhat romantic and idealistic. Dong Chuan-che smiled and shook her head secretly, "That's good. You can quit your part-time job when you go back today and start work tomorrow." "Okay, no." Just as she was about to nod, Hanoi Zayawaizi's face suddenly thought of something. After hesitating for a moment, she said, "So, Che-jun, can you give me a day's grace?" "What's wrong?" Dong Chuan-che raised her eyebrows slightly. Kneeling on the tatami mat, Hanoi Zayawaizi grabbed her knee with her fingers and said, "Actually, I've been feeling a bit tight these past few months. I know some cooking skills, so I usually work part-time at a nearby restaurant after work. Tomorrow is Friday, and that restaurant has very good business on Friday night. If I suddenly don't go, it might cause trouble for them. They are all very good people, so I want to ask." Chapter 6. Night in Akihabara. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So I want to ask if it's possible to start work a day later. Asking for leave on the first day of work, no matter where it is placed, will be scolded. Moreover, it is still in the early stages of project initiation. But the store manager helped me during my difficult times, and I cannot leave so selfishly. Entangled and panicked, but apart from the entanglement and panic, Hanoi Yukiko was surprised to find that a glimmer of anticipation had risen in her heart. Will he punish me like he did just now? Do we still need to sit in the dirt? The Adam's apple slipped, and Hanoi Koya nervously lowered her head. Her fair fingers on her knees tightened slightly, and she dared not look into Dong Chuan-che's eyes, as if she had done something wrong. However, this female student had a very plump and sexy figure. Her thoughts, Dong Chuan-che naturally did not know, only knew that green numbers were constantly popping up above her head. What is this lady thinking? I can, but only for one day, said Dong Chuan-che without hesitation. 100, plus 300. Looking at the red and then green font, Dong Chuan-che was taken aback for a moment. First is disappointment, then is joy. He reasonably criticized the fake, and Hanoi Yukiko felt happy. He could understand, but what the hell is the disappointment? I don't understand, but it's not important either. If the overall favorability is increasing, it indicates that the approach is right. After discussing the matter, Dong Chuan-che didn't leave directly. He ordered 2 more cups of juice and chatted with Hanoi Sayako. The content basically revolves around fate. Hanoi Koyoko was clearly interested in fate, and as soon as she spoke, she chatted incessantly, constantly sharing her drawing ideas with Tokugawa Tsuchi. Tokugawa Tsuchi also gave some guidance based on her past life memories. For example, the dull hair on Saber's head, the golden and wild, and the cherry blossoms design. For Tokugawa Chi's guidance, Hanoi Koya skillfully took out a tablet and transparent glasses from her handbag. She pressed her index finger against the edge of her transparent glasses, like a journalist, while looking up to inquire and tapping and pressing on the tablet. During this period, she also cautiously asked how Tokugawa Chi constructed the fate script. This kind of topic Dongchuan Chi can also pick it up. Although he is not original, and he does not know the mentality of Naishu Mushroom when making fate, he also does not have the condescending mentality of, I promote works for past masters in the parallel world as a form of doing good. As a person who loves playing games and watching movies and music very much, he has been working in the gaming industry since his last life. After receiving the Fate dataset, he left it in the corner as an industrial commodity waiting to be copied and monetized. Dongchuan Chi is also curious about how Fate, a classic work that can be called soulful, was created. If possible, he also wants to create such a classic work according to his own ideas in the future. During this period, he has really studied the entire Fate dataset carefully, including notes, discarded manuscripts, meeting communication records, and a series of materials classified under the miscellaneous category, all of which have been thoroughly searched. Of course, even after flipping through it a lot, he cannot completely restore the original author's mentality, but Dongchuan Chi really has a lot of desire to confide in fate, not just on a commercial level. He really wants to discuss the core of this game, its highlights, and its plot. What Dongchuan Chi didn't expect was that Kawachi Sayako was no exception. Zayawaizi, who was somewhat cautious and had a more gentle and intellectual temperament when discussing the main matter, completely relaxed when talking about the plot and the fate of the characters. Her eyes sparkled with longing, giving a completely different girlish feeling from her plump figure. Eating a fruit platter and drinking juice, the two of them chatted very enthusiastically, discussing topics from business to plot, from plot to character, and then from character to grading issues. Yes, graded. Although Fate is a globally renowned big IP, the original game's rating in Japan is Z, also known as 18X. There are many magic tricks in the game that are not found in anime, as well as daily activities during cohabitation. Z.level is not a good level, and shops in Japan do not allow the sale of Z.level works to teenagers under the age of 18. Once discovered, they will be punished severely. Should we reduce some bloody violence and demonic storyline to lower the game's rating to C, 15X? The two also talked about it. This topic ended from the beginning. Whether it's Tokugawa Chi or Kawaguchi Koyoko, neither of them is willing to sacrifice game content to satisfy the market. As time passed and communication became more and more frequent, Tokugawa Kiyoshi gradually saw some cheerful smiles on Koko Hanoi's face that were different from those of subordinates to superiors, those of seeking help from others, and those driven by desire. The more they talk, the more they get along, and happy times are always brief. As the night outside grew darker, the phone on the table rang. Fingers twirled around the straw, smiling as she looked at the clear Hanoi night in Dongchuan for a moment. Opening her phone, her face changed drastically. 7.43, I'm going to work part-time. Hanoi Zaiwaizi reached out to grab her handbag, but her hand froze halfway through. She reacted that this behavior seemed very impolite in front of the leader, as she had escaped from the state of being obsessed with discussion. Looking at Dongchuan Chi with a smile on her face, she obediently knelt back, lowered her eyebrows and eyes, and cautiously said, Che-jun, can I go? A quite interesting woman. To be honest, at first, Dongchuan Chi only felt that the two sides were in a cooperative relationship. Even if the other party showed some alphabetical attributes, more of what came to his mind was only desire, just control. But now, looking at this wife who resonates with him and is somewhat obedient, Dong Chuan-che picked up the car key and smiled, "Okay. It seems like you're in a hurry. Do you need me to give you a ride?" Plus 1,000. Hanoi Zaiwaizi's face unconsciously showed a happy smile, and her autumn-like eyes were filled with a look called satisfaction. However, looking at Dong Chuan-che's young face, her bright eyes dimmed slightly, and the corner of her mouth with a beautiful mole curved a difficult curve. "Don't trouble Che-jun, I can take the subway very quickly." "Okay, waiter, pay the bill." It has to be said that the consumption of this high-end and high-end restaurant is indeed quite high, and in addition, he can change the consumption point anyway. He also ordered more dishes from Dong Chuan-che. The waiter issued a small ticket of over 30,000 yen, and Hanoi Yuko's eyes twitched as she watched. This meal is enough for half a month's rent for her. Really, spending money recklessly. Looking at Dong Chuan-che's straight back, Hanoi Zaiwaizi secretly rolled her eyes and pouted, but this time there were no red numbers floating above her head that reduced her friend rating. Emotional matters are unreasonable. I didn't notice Zaiwaizi's emotional change, paid the bill, and as soon as I walked out of the restaurant door, Dong Chuan-che felt a noisy atmosphere rushing towards her. Akihabara, as the anime holy land of Tokyo and even the world, is very lively at 8 p.m. The streets are filled with neon signs, bustling with traffic and crowds. Many young girls wearing maid costumes are distributing flyers on the roadside, and there are some energetic up-hosts selling songs on the street corner. There are even some doll costumes chasing and playing around, shaking their signs in their hands. Without the original world, it seems like something is missing. Remembering those Genshin Impact advertisements and pillars about Akihabara that he saw in his previous life, when he walked on the street, a sense of loneliness and sadness flashed in Dong Chuan-che's eyes as he watched from left to right, but he did not notice that Hanoi Zayiko, who was leaning back 2 steps, had secretly pouted his mouth. It's not for any other reason, the streets are lined with maids handing out flyers, and even some divine waiting girls waiting to be fed. Dong Chuan-che has an excellent appearance, a tall figure, and a handsome face. In addition, she has been exercising in large companies like NTsoft for several years. Although he did not absorb all his memories, he was not a loser in his previous life. When he was paired up, his temperament began to gradually transform towards an elite person, while also carrying a somewhat strange sense of loneliness from the world. This feeling is like walking on the street and seeing a very beautiful and elegant girl, which belongs to the type that can be noticed at a glance even when walking in a crowded crowd. The attraction is enormous. The pamphlet in the maid's hand was almost reaching out to Dong Chuan-che's strong chest muscles, and some brave gods were chasing after the girl in an attempt to obtain contact information. Whispering and shouting. Not satisfied, very unhappy. Hanoi Zaiwaizi's autumn-like eyes furrowed slightly. Subconsciously, she wanted to quicken her pace and walk to her side with Dong Chuan-che. However, when she saw the youthful and energetic faces with pleasing expressions, her heart trembled slightly, and her accelerated pace slowed down. At this moment, Dong Chuan-che stopped and waited for her to walk to her side. "Do you want to drink milk tea?" Neons flickered, and under the milk tea shop, looking at Dong Chuan-che's smiling profile, Kawachi Yukiko's eyes trembled violently. The corner of her mouth, which had a beautiful mole, collapsed downwards and then trembled and hooked up. Thank you, Che-jun. You're welcome, what should I drink? Boba milk tea, 3 parts sugar is enough. It suits you quite well. Chapter 7. Rubbing Skills. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Starry stars fill the sky, and the night falls low. The moonlight is cold and there are only barking dogs in the alley. It's already 8:30. The black Volkswagen drove into a residential parking lot with the words, Dong Chuan family, printed on it, and Dong Chuan-che pushed the door to get off. What appeared in front of him was a two-story red-roofed small house covering an area of about 80 square meters, with a yard of nearly 120 square meters. This house is an old ancestral home of the Dongchuan family, and houses in Japan are all built by one household. To put it simply, the land is privately owned. If you buy this piece of land, as long as there is no safety risk in terms of building height, you can freely build several floors and pass them on from generation to generation. And most importantly, there is no public sharing. There is no public stall, even if it is only 80 square meters. When Dongchuan Che opens the door and enters the house, she still feels very spacious. However, it is very desolate. Click, the lights lit up, and the furniture in the room was neatly arranged, but it appeared empty, with only many empty beer cans in the corner of the wall. I don't like this atmosphere. Dongchuan Che turned on all the lights and went to the living room with a stove table to turn on the TV. As the voice of the radio lady echoed in the room, some gloomy emotions were diluted. He took off his clothes and went to the bathroom to lie in the bathtub. Wow! The warm water flowed down the two faucets and hit her shoulders, leaving Tokugawa Kiyoshi lying in the bathtub with no longer the energy and strength of the day in her eyes. Staring blankly at the ceiling, I quietly felt the water flow converging from my shoulders to the bottom of the bathtub, and then climbed up sideways along my thighs. As long as you come, let it be, don't think about it. After a long time, until the water flowed over his chest and he felt the pressure from the hot water in his chest, he finally took a breath and relaxed as he slid down. To be honest, the excitement in his heart during the first 2 days of crossing over were more than panic. Time travel, and the system, reaching the pinnacle of life is no longer a dream. But after 2 days, emotions called loneliness and confusion gradually eroded him. Strange countries, strange cities, people who don't care, and people who don't care about themselves, all the experiences of their past lives disappear like illusions and bubbles without a trace. Zhuang Zumengdi. Butterfly dream Zhuang Zhou. Or is it just a nap on a summer afternoon? I have been suffering from insomnia for 2 days, but I still had to drink alcohol yesterday to fall asleep. This feeling is very uncomfortable, and Dongchuan Che doesn't like it, but he is a person with strong adaptability, or in other words, a past life that was not a good experience is sharp like a knife, shaping him into a soul with strong self-healing ability. He is confident that he can overcome all of this. However, I thought it would take some more time to adapt to this feeling, but remembering the look back and smile of Koyoko Hanoi before entering the subway platform, Tokugawa Tsuyoshi's eyes were complex, her body slid down, and her nose sank into the water. After a while, he sat up, wiped his hands with a towel, and took the tablet from the nearby table. Clicking on the Fate folder, he summoned the system panel. Skill rubbing scroll usage, target. Hanoi Zaiwaizi, rubbing skills, intermediate scene drawing LV5. Before watching Koyoko Hanoi enter the subway platform, he used the skill rubbing scroll provided by the system. Hanoi Zaiwaizi has 3 skills. Intermediate character drawing LV9, intermediate scene drawing LV5, and advanced culinary skills. Among them, culinary skills were the first to be ruled out, and since Xiao Yezi himself was a CG artist, he directly printed the intermediate scene drawing. Xiao Yezi's character drawing is at the intermediate level of LV9, which is actually quite good, but the 2 key points of Gal game are the characters and plot. Normally, Zaiwaizi's professional skills are not enough to support Fate's work, especially with only 2 members in the current project team. During the previous chat, Zaiwaizi also expressed her lack of confidence, but after graduating from college, she has been working as an artist for more than 10 years now. After seeing her drawings, her basic skills are completely fine, and she is even better than some big shots. One major reason why she can't go up is that her emotions are not explosive enough. Dongchuan Che let out a slight sigh. In his view, the key to art being art is that it can impact the soul. Art is the communication between souls, and the personality of Coco Hanoi is too oppressive. Although she became very outgoing when talking about fate, she was more like someone hiding herself in a thick down jacket at other times. She has potential, but she dares not fully unleash it. But now she has developed a liking for me. As long as the method is appropriate, I can lead her forward. The method is appropriate. Thinking of this, Dong Chuan-che looked at the skill upgrade scroll. After a moment of contemplation, he waved his finger and dragged the skill upgrade scroll from the system panel onto the intermediate scene drawing. Skill upgrade successful, intermediate scene drawing, advanced scene drawing. Tip. Skills only impart theoretical knowledge and feelings. Practical skills require practical practice to fully learn. It is recommended to understand and integrate theoretical skills. At the moment the prompt appeared, Dong Chuan-che only felt a burst of light in front of her and a buzzing sound in her brain. Countless books appeared in front of him out of thin air, the gentle breeze flipped through the pages, and the font detached from the books and penetrated into his widened and profound eyes. Siphon. Like a soul siphon, massive character lines flood into his widened and profound eyes. After a while, it wasn't until all the tail lines of the characters were absorbed that Tokugawa-che, whose muscles were tense all over, finally relaxed. Even for the system, this kind of cramming and massive information input is quite uncomfortable. However, the effect has been achieved. Rubbing his sore temples and looking at the advanced scene drawing on the system panel, a hint of a smile appeared in his eyes. Normally, small-sized glanums, such as scene drawing, character drawing, UI, and other aspects, are all produced by an original artist, which ensures a smooth aesthetic consistency and a less fragmented overall appearance. However, nowadays, Hanoi Koyako, her drawing skills are very strong, but she lacks personal characteristics and emotional tension. Simply put, those who have read the manga section know that some comics are those that look exquisite, have beautiful female characters, and have good figures, but lack some flesh or impact. Especially for some key scenes, although they are still very exquisite, they are too realistic, which makes the scene unable to give people the feeling of being particularly explosive. This is because basic skills are good, but being too conventional can lead to a lack of emotional stimulation for users. To put it simply, lacking a stream of consciousness, or in other words, not daring to bring too much of one's emotions into it, nor daring to draw according to one's subconscious emotions. This is a fatal problem. The most typical example is the wealthy old thief. Full-time hunter Ant Chapter, Ant King and Wheat play chess with only dialogue throughout the entire process. The screen is black, there is no narration, only dialogue. This kind of expressive technique can be said to be a completely unconventional approach, but when the final scene lights up and the Ant King dies in the arms of Wheat, the impact on readers is no less than that of Mars colliding with Earth, leaving a lasting impression. This is the technique of expressing stream of consciousness. What Fugen Old Thief needs to do is to bring readers into his consciousness of Fugen righteousness, while what Dong Chuan-che needs to do is to bring Zaiwaizi into his consciousness, and let Hanoi Zaiwaizi, a somewhat cowardly wife, follow his emotions. The means are the background, plot, and music. Let him build the entire background, along with the plot and music. Set up the stage completely, set up the atmosphere, and let Hanoi Koyoko temporarily forget herself, completely immersing herself in the fate world created by him, Tokugawa-che. How do you feel like you've seen this kind of plot before, giving up your shame and being able to show everything in front of me without reservation? In my mind flashed some flashy film and television works, and Dong Chuan-che buttoned her cheeks. Chapter 8. Encounters in the Morning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hanoi Zaiwaizi is a person who needs to lead, and if he wants to lead others, the first thing he needs is to be strong enough. Buckling her cheeks, Tokugawa Tsuyoshi, who had just obtained advanced scene drawing, didn't hesitate. She stood with her hands on both sides of the bathtub and took a pencil pen to write and draw on the tablet. Advanced scene drawing is a practical skill, and even if he gains all the theoretical knowledge and feelings, he still needs a lot of practice to adapt to all of this. It's not difficult. This feeling is like, after many years, picking up the game that I used to play back then. At first, facing many updated versions of the game, one may feel a bit confused, but the basic operating rules of the game have actually been mastered in all aspects. The body and brain have formed memories, and the speed of receiving new information will be very fast. Soak in water, write and draw. Scene drawing experience +1 +3 +2 +1 +5 +10 +12 arm strength +0.00001 +0.00002 on the system panel. Prompts kept popping up, but at this point, Tokugawa Kiyoshi, whose attention was completely focused on drawing, couldn't feel it all. She just kept drawing and thinking. Time passes by bit, and the entire bathroom, room, and Dongchuan home, are all just the faint sound of electronic pens tapping on the screen. Until the little white dog next door bored and yawned back to the doghouse, until the female anchor on the TV in the room turned into a late-night animation, until the mist in the bathroom dissipated, until some wrinkles appeared on the skin. It was only then that Dongchuan Che put down the tablet and rubbed her sore arm. It's 12 o'clock, did I soak for 3 hours? Swipe up and turn off the app, and only then did Dongchuan Che realize that the time had arrived at 23.58. Time passes quickly, but equally, skills also grow rapidly. Intermediate scene drawing LV9, experience value 73%, with a solid foundation, the growth rate is fast, but it's still a bit brain-racking. There are still more than 20% left until advanced scene drawing. Tomorrow morning, just go ahead and fish in the company. It's already very late. Wow. The heavy body stood up from the water. It has to be said that having no one at home is indeed lonely, but freedom is also true freedom. It's big summer now, and there's no one else at home. Dongchuan Che is too lazy to change into pajamas, so she casually uses a towel to dry her body and throws her back to the bedroom. Good morning, Mr. Dongchuan. Well, good morning, Miss Badano. The next morning, amidst the greetings from the front desk lady, Tokugawa Kiyoshi, dressed in a black suit, walked confidently into the NTsoft company building. He is currently the team leader of Lightbird Studio, but in reality, his position within the company is only as a department head. The level of section chief is the lowest among management, so employees in other groups and departments call him section chief, but it's like no fool would call him XXX deputy manager when they see a deputy manager, but only manager. Members of the group, such as Zayawaizi, would call him team leader. Smiling and nodding to the front desk lady, he had just walked into the elevator and was about to go upstairs when suddenly the sound of high heels came from outside the elevator. Captain Dongchuan, please wait a moment. A familiar voice entered the cochlea, and Dongchuan Che pressed the door button. 2 seconds later, 2 bouncing clusters of large white pomelo first caught the eye. Thank you, team leader Xie. Hanoi Yuko, dressed in a black and white OL uniform, hurriedly walked into the elevator. She put on a delicate light makeup today, her skin appears very fair and tender but not greasy, her hair curled up to reveal her seductive little face, giving a refreshing and delicate feeling. Carrying a handbag in her hand, she patted her thick chest and gasped for breath. Dongchuan Che released the elevator button with her fingers and smiled, there's still some time until work, so there's no need to rush. The elevator door slowly closed, and Kawachi Yukiko carefully looked out. After confirming that no one was coming up, she took a deep breath and turned to look at Higashikawa Che. She stuck out her tongue and said, no, when I came in, I saw Minister Mayano just got off the car. I dare not take the elevator with her. Minister Mayano. Mayano Meiting. A woman with a sexy figure, a charming and cold face, constantly emitting a terrifying aura like a snake or scorpion flashed through her mind. Minister Mayano's momentum is indeed astonishing. Dongchuan Che nodded. Hanoi Koyoko tucked her handbag under her armpit and said, yeah, it's super terrifying. By the way, did the team leader rest well last night? Not bad. And you? Oh my, I worked part-time so late yesterday. I just got ready, Chief Changu. After yesterday's communication, Coco Hanoi's words began to increase, but just as she was about to say something, an old woman came up from the elevator on the second floor. Nervous. Hanoi Zaiwaizi closed her mouth and bowed respectfully to Chief Nagaya before obediently facing the elevator entrance. To be honest, if there are only two people in the elevator and they are acquaintances, it is not very awkward. What's awkward is having an unfamiliar leader. Hanoi Zaiwaizi dared not speak any more and held a handbag in front of her crotch, but soon she realized that something even more uncomfortable had happened. She stood close to the elevator button, facing the elevator door, and behind her was Tokugawa Kiyoshi. Is he observing me? The fiery gaze rolled behind her, feeling goosebumps rising from her erect neck. In her wild thoughts, Kawachi Koyoko's eyes revealed a steam, and she unconsciously rubbed her thigh. However, by a stroke of luck, she slightly pushed her waist forward, making the front and back appear more prominent. +50 +50 +50. What is this woman doing? To be honest, Dong Chuan-che did not notice the small movements on Koya's body. He was still thinking about some knowledge of advanced scene drawing, but the green numbers protruding from Koya's head in Hanoi did indeed attract his attention. Glancing at the winding and undulating curves behind Hanoi Koya, the oppressive peaches, and the slightly red little ears wearing crystal earrings, Dong Chuan-che's face looked strange, but before he could think more, when the elevator arrived on the third floor, a large group of employees rushed in. Good, Changu, good, Dong Chuan. Oh, really, why does our department have a meeting early in the morning? That means I have to go to the conference room on the 7th floor, and I'm also going to use the restroom. There was a lot of chatter in the elevator, and several old employees were not afraid of anything. They had to have a meeting in the morning after roast. Whether other departments have meetings or not, Dong Chuan-che doesn't care, but feels the warm fragrance and jade in his arms, and he slightly tilts his chest back. Sorry, team leader, it's squeezing you. Squeezed by the crowd, her entire back was pressed against Dong Chuan-che's body. Hanoi Koyoko's face turned red, holding a handbag and apologizing softly on Dong Chuan-che's chest with her head turned sideways. The sound was like a mosquito, with a shy and embarrassed expression on his face, but green emotions kept popping up above his head, increasing numbers. At the same time, although one could feel that her body was very tense and her muscles were tense, there was no intention of leaving the direction of the force. Coincidentally, even Dong Chuan-che does not resist. It's okay, it's coming soon. With a strong sense of oppression, Dong Chuan-che lowered her head and whispered in the ear of Hanoi Koya. Hot air spat out at the base of his ear, and he felt a tremble. Chapter 9. Some Thirst. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Heat was spitting out in her ears, and Hanoi Zaiwaizi's whole body trembled. There was a surge of pink moisture in her eyes, and her slender hands, which held her handbag in front of her chest, unconsciously tightened. Too fast. +200. A huge number floated out of my head, and at that moment, the elevator door opened. She seemed to escape, squeezing out of the elevator, but after leaving, she didn't briskly enter the office. Instead, she held her handbag in both hands and turned to look at Tokugawa Tsuchi, who was also squeezing out of the elevator. The elevator is not only a bit ambiguous, but the air is also a bit stuffy. Feeling the fresh air, as she walked out of the elevator shaking her suit, Dong Chuan-che's slightly flushed face showed a shy smile. Sorry, team leader, I just had too many people. Don't worry, let's go. It's time to go to work. Dong Chuan-che reached out and rubbed her hair, not noticing a satisfied smile on the beautiful woman's face. He tidied up his tie and turned towards the office with the Light Bird Studio sign hanging on it. Light Bird Studio is said to be a game team under NTsoft Gaming Company, but the studio doesn't have many employees, including only 5 of Kawachi Koyoko and his Tokugawa Che. This is mainly because the development direction of Lightbird Studio is interactive movie games. This game category is very, very niche, with almost no explosive releases, and correspondingly, the scale of capital investment is not large. This is also why he, Dongchuan Che, has only been working for 4 or 5 years and can become the team leader. Many department heads at the same level as him would rather stay as assistants in major projects than be self-exiled here. To become a team leader of a studio, at least it needs to be a management team. NTsoft established Lightbird Studio mainly due to the recent signs of recovery in the GLANA market. The company has noticed the emotional needs of male users, but NTsoft has never done GLANA before, making it difficult to compete with established companies that have been deeply rooted in this field. That's why they want to give it a try and see if they can use interactive movie games to find a new way. The nature of the game ticket is not only limited to the development funds provided, but also to the personnel allocation. In addition to the young elite sent by the company to train, such as Tokugawa Tsuchi, there are more scraps like Coco Hanoi who have little development prospects. Even for Coco Hanoi, Dongchuan Che knew in her heart that the company had left her, an old employee who had not made progress for a long time, on this project team, partly because she wanted to find a reason to transfer her from headquarters in the future. Very cruel, but the company has always been like this. Hello, Captain Dongchuan. Good morning, team leader. Dongchuan Che pushed the door open and entered. Several employees in the room immediately stood up, respectfully greeting each other with a pleasing smile on their faces. It is obvious that they also know that their current situation is very dangerous, and even a slight mistake can lead to job insecurity. Good morning everyone. Just give a casual greeting, and Dongchuan Che opens the door and enters the small compartment in the office. Captain Dongchuan remains as capable as ever. TSK, at the age of 25, he can serve as a department head in a large enterprise. The future is really promising. Watching Dongchuan Che enter the room, the chubby middle-aged man near the water dispenser exudes longing in his eyes. Next to her, a middle-aged woman in her 40s, dressed in simple clothes, nodded and said, yes, normally it would take at least 10 years to climb to the position of class leader, but it only took him less than 5 years. The company values this kind of talent very much, but... Speaking of which, the middle-aged lady was a bit worried. I don't know if the team leader has figured out what kind of game we need to play. If we keep dragging on like this, we'll be very upset at the next meeting. Yi Zi-sung, you're here. Just as she placed her handbag on the table, Hanoi Koya bit her headband and turned her hair back in front of the mirror, making a blurry voice as she said, Yeki-sang, Kawaguchi-sang, you're so early. I was lucky this morning and happened to catch the subway. Taking a glance at the slightly red face of Coco Hanoi, and then at the compartment with the blinds pulled down, Mrs. Nogi held a cup of hot water and said, Yoko-san, did you just take the elevator with the team leader? Yeah, what's wrong? Did what happened in the elevator just now be discovered? Shocking. As if he were a thief, Hanoi Zaiwaizi, with his hands tied back and his chest raised, became wary. He looked at the other person with a little nervousness, but to his surprise, the chubby Nogi auntie whispered, did you hear any news? Ah-ha. Oh, stupid. It's about what kind of game our group is going to make, it's a big event that will determine our future. Mrs. Nogi's face showed a worried expression, and Hanoi Yuko was taken aback. Ah. I chatted for so long yesterday, but I've been talking about fate all along. The company's affairs have long been forgotten. However, with Che Jun's ability, it's completely effortless to play this plot-driven game. Don't worry, Captain Dongchuan will find a solution, said Koyoko Hanoi with a smile, I hope so, otherwise we'll be in danger. Oh, by the way, the Dynamic Department Store is running a jump promotion on weekends. Would you like to go together? Jumping off the building promotion. Which one is it? Talking about discounts in the shopping mall, Hanoi Zaiwaizi came to her senses and rubbed on her fragrant hand cream, chatting enthusiastically. The atmosphere in the office was not serious, and Dong Chuan-che also saw it, but he didn't pay much attention. At present, although the project team has been established, due to the fact that he has not submitted a proposal to the higher-ups, the entire Guangyao studio is still in the early preparation stage, and the workload is very small. With less workload, he naturally doesn't need to force his employees to put on a "I work hard" attitude like a mentally disabled leader, but the business plan really needs to be submitted quickly. Dong Chuan-che was typing in front of the computer, lines of font reflected in his eyes, while the font on the front page of the document prominently read, "Damn it. I'm surrounded by beautiful women. Last night, I had a meal with Hanoi Zaiwaizi and spent 30,000 yen, which is still about 200,000 yuan away from the 500,000 yuan consumption point. The price is very reasonable, just by a top-of-the-line iPad Pro." Thinking that he had been using the tablet for 3 or 4 years, he didn't hesitate much and placed an order directly. Now the app shows that the iPad is still in transit, and I have been surrounded by beautiful women and have been redeemed. In the past life, the production cost of this game was around 5 million renminbi, equivalent to nearly 100 million yen. This expense is beyond the scope of my previous discussion with the minister, but the most expensive aspect of this game is mainly the salaries of a few actors. Fingers kept tapping and typing on the keyboard, and Dong Chuan-che's mind kept thinking. Games like live-action movies have low gameplay, with only a few UI interfaces and the rest being the shooting part. However, whether this game can become popular or not depends on whether the female actors hired are attractive enough. Many passers-by say that this game only became popular through marketing, but normally, a game with a cost of 5 million yuan cannot spend too much money on marketing. Because the cost of 5 million yuan is just a game that has just emerged from low-cost investment in the gaming industry. Just giving such a small amount of investment indicates that the investors did not attach much importance to this game in the early stages, and it is impossible to invest a large amount of money in marketing. This is a very simple logic. Would you give a 4,000 yuan computer graphics card a 10,000 yuan or even 20,000 yuan power supply? I was surrounded by beautiful women and was able to break through the circle, and later investors increased their investment in marketing, mainly because the character, How How Mom, became popular when the game was first released. The character How How Mama can be said to have boosted the early popularity of this game, with many players spontaneously posting memes online such as, "I just want to give How How a home," and, "How can other characters play without weakening How How Mama?" The meme has a very strong dissemination effect, and as the number of players increases and the popularity increases, investors also smell the scent and begin to increase investment, thereby adding fuel to the situation and forming a breaking circle effect. This is a logical sequence, and the foundation for forming this logic is that there must be a female character in the game who is very attractive and can trigger discussions among players. According to previous market research, male players in Tokyo from 2000 to 2005 are generally more interested in labels such as wife, undead, and mature woman, which perfectly fits the characteristics of How How Mama. Well, we still need to use How How Mama to shoot the first shot. This character must be chosen well, and the money should be willing to be spent. But who should we choose? Dong Chuan-che clicked on another software on the screen. In an instant, a series of photos of actresses appeared in front of me, including those in active service, those who have retired, and those who are amateur. Various pictures of beautiful women filled Dong Chuan-che's eyes. Below are the agency and contact information. Without much hesitation, he directly entered mature women on the adjacent tab, and at that moment, a knock came from the door. "Please come in. Captain Dong Chuan, I have brewed barley tea for you." Dressed in an OL uniform and wearing high heels, Hanoi Yuko twisted her waist and walked in with a pot of tea in her hand. "Okay, let's put it here." The middle finger of his right hand kept scrolling over the mouse, and Tokugawa Tsuchi, who was fully focused on selecting girls, did not notice this. His gaze continued to gaze at the images of beautiful women constantly scrolling across the screen. For the future of the studio, Chae-jun is indeed working very hard. Carrying a teapot, she walked towards her desk and looked at the staring Dongchuan Chae. A hint of admiration rose in Hanoi's heart, but when she deliberately bent down to put the teapot, revealing a thick white shirt with an opening, the image of a mature woman on the computer screen that flashed through the corner of her eye instantly widened her eyes. What is this? Chae-jun actually looks at these things during working hours. Oh my god, this is simply absolutely 100, plus 300. As if shocked by an electric shock, Hanoi Zayawaizi, who was worried about being scolded for peeking into the leader's secret without seeing too clearly, immediately straightened up. After being surprised, Xiafei's cheeks and breathing became slightly faster, and her large, brushed eyes glanced at Dongchuan Chae's suit pants. Are you really so thirsty? Chapter 10. Selecting Actresses. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is there anything else? My gaze kept scanning through the pictures of mature women, occasionally tapping open to take a look at my measurements, resume, and life photos. With a dry mouth and tongue, Dongchuan Chae took a sip of the nearby barley tea, and only then did he realize that Hanoi Zayawaizi had not left after delivering the barley tea. Looking up, his gaze crossed the towering ridge, and a puzzled expression appeared on Dongchuan Chae's face as he was completely in a working state. Ah. No, I just want to thank you again for inviting me to dinner last night and giving me a chance. Hanoi Koya bowed respectfully, and the lace pattern on the white shirt could be seen through the hanging black suit. The curvature is very tempting, but at this moment, Tokugawa Tsuchi is busy with work and has no interest in interacting with female subordinates. Twisting his neck, he pushed the frameless glasses on the bridge of his nose and continued to scroll the mouse wheel without lifting his head. To be polite, don't say it too many times, we're on one side, he said. Yes. Zayawaizi knows. A man who works hard and is considerate is really. Wait. He's not working. Looking at the handsome and elite-looking Dongchuan Chae in front of her, she lifted her head and saw Hanoi Koya's large eyes curved into crescents like autumn water. However, soon, when she thought of the picture of a mature woman she had just seen, her expression turned cue and petrified. Chae-jun is in his 20s this year and doesn't have a girlfriend. He has experienced something like that in the elevator, so it's normal for him to feel thirsty. And he seems to prefer someone older than him. Then 100, plus 2000. Moods fluctuate. Hanoi Koyoko blushed so much that she was about to smoke, and at that moment, Tokugawa Kiyoshi raised her hand and pointed to the screen. You happen to be here. Come and help me see how this woman is doing. How is this woman? He still invited me to watch together. He. This is an office. Red steam. Just like when teacher Kai opened the 8th door and thought of some strange things, Hanoi Zayawaizi's cute and charming little face instantly turned red, and her head seemed to be spewing out shy red steam. Plus 1000.1000 plus 1000.1000. What's wrong with this woman? Looking at the huge number popping up above Hanoi's head, Dongchuan Chae raised her eyebrows slightly and said, What's wrong with you? No, I'm coming over right now. With a red face and a lowered head, Hanoi Zayawaizi moved and came to Dongchuan Chae's side. Well, Shueji de Shue is 31 years old. She graduated from Art University and has had experience as an artist. She has starred in the thriller film Terrifying Wife, and is 1.73 meters tall, with a circumference of 87, 61, and 84. Her specialty is dancing, her body is flexible, and she can sing well. What do you think is her first impression of you? Aha! I was actually selecting actors listening to Dongchuan Chae chattering on, looking at the computer screen, the girl who was indeed very sexy but dressed normally, Hanoi Zayawaizi was taken aback. Her blushing face and eyes were wide open, filled with shame. Plus 1000. Dongchuan Chae was speechless. Ah, are you really listening to me? Sorry. I'm very sorry. Hanoi Zaiwaizi bowed like pounding garlic and blushed as she leaned towards the monitor. After looking for a while, she whispered, she's a very beautiful girl with a great figure, and her temperament is a bit cold. She's a bit aloof. It's very suitable for investigating conditions like sexy lady and little horse pulling big cart. Well, it's similar to what I thought. However, there are a few others that I think are also pretty good. At this point, Dong Chuan-che stood up, bent down and clicked the red check mark on some beautiful images. Contact the agents of these actresses, and then make a statistical table of prices and itineraries for me, he said. Okay. Please wait for me a moment, I'll go get my notebook. No need, you can use my computer. Ah, okay, please hand it over to me. I didn't expect Dong Chuan-che to arrange it like this. Hanoi Zaiwaizi was slightly taken aback, but after all, she had been working in the workplace for more than 10 years and quickly entered the role. She moved her big butt and sat on Dong Chuan-che's boss's chair. It's a bit warm. A warm feeling spread to the adductor muscles of the thighs through the buttock skirt and black silk, and Hanoi Zaiwaizi's pretty face blushed slightly. Plus 200. The green font popped out from the top of the female subordinate's head, and at this moment, Dong Chuan-che said, you need to concentrate. In the afternoon, I need to report to the minister about my work. When you come with me, you may need information about actors. Ah. Department head. Just now, Zaiwaizi felt the temperature of Dong Chuan-che's body and her eyes widened. 100 plus 1000. At first, his gaze was surprised and fearful, but soon, there was a lot of tenderness in his gaze towards Dong Chuan-che. She is indeed an outsider in NTsoft and is about to be laid off, but after all, she is also an old employee who has been working for many years. If she can show her face in front of a leader at the ministerial level, although it is uncertain whether she can save her career, it will definitely be beneficial. I understand, Che-jun, just leave it to me. Thank you very much, really. Hanoi Koya stood up and bowed 90 degrees with a bang, her face full of gratitude. Don't be too polite, and by the way, there's no need to mention the word you. I quite like you calling me Che-jun. Yes. I know. I won't let you. Let Che-jun lose face. This guy looking at the excited and somewhat shy Hanoi Coco, Dong Chuan-che smiled and shook her head, kneading her small head that had been raised 90 degrees high before saying anything more. She sat on the sofa next to her and took out her tablet, and her thoughts began to focus on her own affairs. The plot and other aspects of the game, surrounded by beautiful women, are almost ready. Once the actor's remuneration is determined within a certain range, they can submit a proposal to the company. These things can be done by Xiao Yezi, so I'll hurry up and improve my scene drawing skills to a higher level. Sitting on the sofa next to her with her tablet in hand, Dong Chuan-chumin, dressed in a suit, took a sip of barley tea and crossed her legs to start writing and drawing on the tablet. The relatively small office became quiet. The clock ticks on the wall, leaving only the sound of keyboard tapping and electronic pen tapping on the screen in the air. Occasionally, when drawing in difficult areas, Dong Chuan-che would also take a big sip of barley tea, and in the most difficult and mentally unstable areas, he would light a cigarette. She smoked in the office and choked a little, but Hanoi Zaiwaizi didn't say anything more. Looking at Dong Chuan-che, who was frowning, she just silently opened the windows on both sides of the French window to add water to the teapot, and then returned to the computer to do statistics. Of course, she will also call some agents who cannot be reached online. Each person performs their own duties, and both of them are doing their own things, occasionally making noise. However, the atmosphere gives a comfortable and harmonious feeling, just like when someone is sleeping during a lunch break in school, someone is whispering, and there is sound in the environment, but the whole atmosphere is very comfortable. Working in this environment, Tokugawa Tsuchi's attention was completely focused. As the clock ticked until 12 o'clock, a line of small characters also rose in front of him. Intermediate scene drawing, advanced scene drawing, LV1, just sorting out the knowledge and familiarizing the muscles with the feeling. This improvement speed is really fast. Tomorrow weekend, we can start work just in time. Holding the tablet and drawing for a whole morning, seeing the prompts floating in front of her, Dong Chuan-che tilted her head back onto the sofa. At this moment, Hanoi Koyoko came to him holding a printed document. Che-jun, I have compiled a list of the actors you have hooked up on. However, But. Dong Chuan-che raised her eyebrows slightly. Hanoi Zaiwaizi said somewhat indignantly, most agents, upon hearing that they want to make a live-action interactive movie game, give higher quotes than the compensation they previously submitted to other companies. Price increase. Dong Chuan-che picked up the barley tea and took a sip, his face becoming somewhat strange. Due to limited budget, only some lesser-known celebrities were selected this time. Although there are some suspicions of discrimination, to be honest, these actors have scenes to play and have a chance to show their faces, so they should be burning high incense and even have to pay extra. It's also understandable. In the original world, I was surrounded by beautiful women. This game took a year and a half from project initiation to release, including game production and film editing. All the work was put together. Although Dong Chuan-che directly copied the finished product, at most he localized the dialogue and character design to avoid taking a detour. According to his estimation, it still requires 3 months of high-intensity filming. This also means that within 3 months, the actress who participated in Damn It, I'm Surrounded by Beautiful Women will not be able to take on any other work. There are no blockbuster live-action movies in this world, not to mention blockbusters. There is no precedent for blockbuster works. Those agents probably think that taking on this job, although better than standing still and hanging up, may also miss other opportunities because of it. Sure enough, the price hikes are all actors with some resumes. Their acting skills are better, and they also bring some fans, but the price is high. At that time, we still need to bring in ordinary people for the interview, but the cost fluctuations should not be too significant. Flipping through the information, his gaze scanned the table line by line. After thinking for a moment, Dong Chuan-che closed the information and stood up, saying, I understand. That's it for now. It's time for lunch. Good. Hanoi Zaiwaizi bowed slightly, but just as Dong Chuan-che was about to pull the door open and leave, her red-faced hands were placed in front of her crotch, and she clenched her 10 fingers tightly. That. Che-jun, I prepared an extra bento this morning, if you don't mind, she said.